And here's James Lankford. He basically admitted that partisanship is everything. He said, if this was happening under the Biden administration, I'd be apoplectic. Talking about essentially the lack of insight and explanation over the legal and intelligence that's being used and the legal theories that are being used to defend these extrajudicial killings. Again, James Lankford said, if this were the Biden administration, I'd be apoplectic. Dude, come on. Welcome to what is wrong with everything in American politics, right? Everything in American politics is wrapped up in that one quote. In fact, I'm going to take this further, and we're going to do an imagination, okay? We're going to play a little game of political imagination. Imagine just for a moment that everything we're seeing right now with the Trump presidency, okay? Every business deal, every gift, every extrajudicial killing, every public-private overlap, were instead happening under President Joe Biden. Imagine if Biden were the one getting a $400 million jet from a foreign government. Imagine if Biden's son was launching a meme coin that made millions trading on his father's name. Imagine if the Justice Department had floated paying Joe Biden personally or Hunter Biden personally for lost profits at one of his family businesses. What do you think Congress would be doing? What do you think the House Oversight Committee would do? Would they shrug? Would we already be on week 7 of Bidengate? Would the articles of impeachment be drawn up? Let's be honest. We all know where this movie would go. Subpoenas. We'd have primetime hearings already. There'd be wall-to-wall graphics on Fox. There'd be a parade of Republican lawmakers warning about the weaponization of government and foreign influence at the highest levels. But because it's Trump, the same actions are either ignored, rationalized, or reframed as savvy business. Again, if this were Biden, perhaps James Lankford would be apoplectic. So today, let's unpack this double standard. It's not a partisan exercise. It's a terrific exercise because many on the right always want to say to the press, I've heard this all the time, insert Biden for Trump or insert Trump for Biden, right? You guys only get outraged when Trump does it. You don't get outraged enough when Biden does it. Some of us, I think, do practice this and just simply let principles hold people account. And I think there are plenty of partisan journalists out there that look the other way. So it's one of those that you get to cherry pick. When you're a partisan hack looking to make a point, there's enough idiots out there to cherry pick from to make it look like you're somehow smart and principled. But most of the time, people that are making that attack are doing it because they don't want to admit that they would be behaving differently if the names were changed. So we're going to unpack this double standard. It's not a partisan exercise. This is a civic exercise because this issue of congressional oversight, it's at the core of what our government was supposed to be about. And if we don't have this kind of oversight and check and balance in our system, we are going to go down and take this kleptocracy of a political party that Donald Trump has created right now, and it is going to end up essentially describing our entire country's political framework. So let's start with the jet and the Qatari airplane. It's a $400 million Boeing 747-8, custom built, gifted by the government of Qatar, ostensibly to the American people. But in practice, it's to the sitting president of the United States, Donald Trump, and eventually to the outgoing president of the United States, since it will be a gift to his library. The optics are unbelievable. The ethics are straight out of an emoluments clause law school hypothetical. In fact, if you did this as a law school hypothetical 10 years ago, people would have said, oh, this would never happen. Oops. Under any other presidency, this would be a flashing red light for congressional investigators. A foreign ally, kind of foreign ally, right? Not even a straightforward foreign ally. Qatar, housing the leaders of Hamas, housing the leaders of the Taliban. But I digress. It's an ally-ish. But giving the president a luxury aircraft, that's exactly the kind of soft influence that our founders had warned about. Now, if Joe Biden had accepted this gift, say from the Emiratis or a European defense contractor, House Republicans would likely have convened an emergency hearing before the paint on the fuselage even dried. But under Trump, the oversight majority has done nothing. Not one subpoena, not one hearing, not one public witness list. In fact, the only lawmakers demanding answers have been on the Democratic minority. And I don't know whether to call them principled or not. These people weren't in a hurry to deal with anything on Hunter Biden. But obviously, they're jumping on this. Now, I think they should jump on this. But I also think Republicans should jump on this. And that's what really frustrates me here, is that everything now looks like a partisan exercise. But Democratic minority on the committee, led by California's Robert Garcia, along with Jamie Raskin from Judiciary, have been asking questions: who paid for it, what strings are attached, and why isn't the government's own ethics office involved? By the way, Qatar's already gotten a defense agreement, a big security agreement. So that's probably easily worth more than a simple $400 million airplane. But it's the same pattern again and again. What would be a crisis under Biden becomes creative diplomacy under Donald Trump. Now let's move to something that sounds like satire, but is not. Trump's names and likeness on now literal fake currency. The Trump coin and World Liberty financial tokens. World Liberty is the company that was co-founded by Trump family and the Witkoff family. These tokens have pulled in hundreds of millions of dollars in trading fees and token sales. Most of those tokens were minted and held by Trump-affiliated entities, meaning the Trump family directly benefits from speculative trading driven by the president's own political messaging. And we don't always know who's buying these coins. Foreign governments could be doing this influence, a way to enrich Donald Trump personally without actually having to pay him money. They buy the coin, raising the value of the coin, raises the value of it, and he never actually technically takes direct cash from said foreign entity. So, what if Hunter Biden had tried this? A meme coin with his father's initials, trading on overseas exchanges, with foreign wallets jumping in and out of the market? Oversight Republicans would be accusing the Bidens of building a global money laundering network. In fact, I believe they did accuse the Bidens of doing this, and Donald Trump did when it had to do with companies that Hunter Biden was trying to do business with in China. Instead, with Trump, the GOP line is that he's revolutionizing campaign finance. The hypocrisy is not subtle. It's systemic, because the modern oversight committee under James Comer isn't really functioning as an institutional watchdog anymore. It's just a partisan watchdog. It's a political weapon aimed in one direction. Pure and simple. Now let's move to the $230 million Department of Justice settlement. That wasn't, but almost was. Every taxpayer's jaw should drop over this one. That President Trump is directing the Department of Justice to explore paying him $230 million personally in a settlement for losses his hotels incurred while he was president. Just let it all sink in. A sitting president instructing the government to compensate his private business for revenue he lost because he had to govern. And it had to do with these lawsuits, right? What was happening. That's how he's trying to justify it. Let it all sink in. A sitting president instructing the government to compensate his private businesses for revenue he lost because of things that a grand jury thought he did. And yet the Oversight Committee, the one that has spent 3 years combing through the Biden's LLCs and everything that Hunter Biden had been doing, hasn't said a word. If Biden had done this, if Merrick Garland had floated a settlement with a Biden family business, we'd have already had the impeachment resolutions drafted, hearings booked, witnesses sworn in. We'd have graphics packages titled The Great Biden Bailout. Instead, the Oversight Republicans, same ones who warned endlessly about Hunter Biden's laptop, collectively silent. So let's zoom out. Trump's world isn't just one company. It's an entire ecosystem. He's got hotels, golf courses, a media company, and now cryptocurrency. Every one of those businesses is intertwined with his political brand and his government role. Foreign dignitaries stay at his properties. Political donors hold fundraisers there. Political allies. In fact, if you want an endorsement from Trump and you're running for Congress, you better hold a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago or another Trump property. Secret Service rents rooms from his companies. Money goes into his pocket. We saw it all take place during the first term. Difference now is Trump's back in office. He's doing it all again, and this time with a lot less pretense and a lot less resistance. If Biden were directing State Department delegations to his Delaware beach house, Airbnb-ing it, right? Charging per night rates to visiting ambassadors, Oversight would already have subpoenaed his bank statements. But under Trump, those same entanglements are treated as background noise, not red flags. And there's the White House ballroom renovation, financed partly by private donors, coordinated through opaque nonprofit channel, and awarded to contractors who happen to have political connections. If Biden had accepted private funds to remodel part of the White House, Republicans would be calling it pay-to-play architecture. They'd demand donor lists, contract bids, and receipts. They'd probably be complaining that he seemed to fire members of the planning commission and appointing people so that he could just do what he wanted to at the White House. Oh, wait, Donald Trump did all that. But under Trump, of course, it's a public-private innovation. Hey, private donors are paying. This is no different than the Truman balcony. There's a phrase for this in Washington. We call it selective outrage, and it's the oxygen of modern oversight. Look, with a lot of things with Trump, it's not about the idea itself that's bad. Could the White House use a ballroom? Sure. Is there room to do it? Absolutely. Is there a procedure to do it? Yes. Do you at all behave like you're an American that gives two shits about the history of the United States before you just bulldoze a piece of the White House? That's all anybody's asking. Nobody's saying you can't. How about just doing it the way any other one of the 330 million Americans would be expected to do if they wanted to do something like this? It's just insulting to all of us. It's insulting to everybody that gives a darn at all about history, that cares about the United States. It's just such a selfish act. There's a reason results matter more than promises. Just like there's a reason Morgan & Morgan has become America's largest injury law firm. For the last 35 years, they've recovered $25 billion for more than 500,000 clients. It includes cases where insurance companies offered next to nothing, short of shortchanging, seeing if they could get away with it. And Morgan & Morgan fought back, and they won millions. In Pennsylvania, one client was awarded $26 million. It was a staggering 40 times the amount that the insurance company originally offered. That offer, $650,000, whatever it took to sort of get away without paying. So with more than 1,000 lawyers across the country, Morgan & Morgan knows how to deliver for everyday people. So if you're injured, you're looking for a lawyer, check out forthepeople.com/ToddCast or dial pound law, pound 529 on your cell phone. And remember, all law firms are not the same. So give Morgan & Morgan a look. Their fee is free unless they win.